For me, waking up means being present in each and every moment, allowing life to unfold in all its splendor and glory, to openly welcome whatever unfolds. I believe that completely. And so did a Jesuit priest from India who spent his life traveling the world, delivering a message so simple and so direct that it made people laugh, cry, and occasionally walk out of the room. His name was Anthony de Mello. In his radical teaching, the one that appears on virtually every page of everything he ever wrote, is this: most people don't know they are asleep. They're born asleep. They live asleep. They marry in their sleep. They breed children in their sleep. They die in their sleep without ever waking up. They never understand the loveliness and the beauty of this thing we call human existence. Welcome to Ascend and Awaken, timeless wisdom for awakening and inner peace. Anthony de Mello was born in Bombay, India in 1931. He became a Jesuit priest, deeply rooted in the Catholic Christian tradition, but his spiritual hunger didn't stop there. He drew from Zen Buddhism, Sufism, Taoism, Hindu wisdom, and modern psychology, weaving them all together with a directness and humor that was completely his own. He ran spiritual retreats across India, Europe, and America, drawing thousands of people who left change in ways they often struggled to explain. His books, especially Awareness and The Way to Love, have sold over 2 million copies worldwide and continue to find new readers decades after his death. He died suddenly of a heart attack in New York in 1987 at the age of 55, at the peak of his influence. He was gone before most of the world had fully found him, but his words survived, and they are finding the people who need them now more than ever. De Mello loves stories, short, sharp, disarming stories that got past the mind's defenses before the mind knew what was happening. Here is one of his most famous. A man found an eagle's egg and placed it in the nest of a barnyard hen. The eaglet hatched with the brood of chicks and grew up with them. All its life, the eagle did what the barnyard chickens did, thinking it was a barnyard chicken. It scratched the earth for worms and insects. He clucked and cackled. It thrashed its wings and flew a few feet into the air. Years passed. The eagle grew very old. One day, it saw a magnificent bird far above it in the sky. It glided in graceful majesty among the powerful wind currents with scarcely a beat of its strong golden wings. The old eagle looked up in awe. "Who's that?" it asked. "That's the eagle, the king of the birds," said its neighbor. "He belongs to the sky. We belong to the earth. We're chickens." So the eagle lived and died as a chicken, because that is what it thought it was. De Mello would pause after that story, let it sit in the room, and then say quietly, "That is most of humanity, eagles who have forgotten what they are." When de Mello says most people are asleep, he is not being dramatic or unkind. He is being precise. Sleep is not stupidity. It is not moral failure. It is not something to be ashamed of. Sleep is simply the condition of living inside the programming we received, without ever questioning whether that programming is true. We are conditioned from the moment we arrive in this world, by our families, our culture, our religion, our education, our fears, our wounds, layer upon layer of beliefs about who we are, what we deserve, what is possible, what is safe, what love requires. And most of us, de Mello says gently but directly, walk through our entire lives never once questioning any of it. He says, what you are aware of, you are in control of. What you are not aware of is in control of you. You are always a slave to what you are not aware of. The programming runs in the background, invisible, unquestioned, shaping every reaction, every fear, every moment of suffering, while we believe we are simply experiencing life. That is the sleep de Mello is pointing to. Here is where de Mello diverges completely from almost every other spiritual teacher. He does not give you a practice to fix yourself. He does not offer a program of self-improvement. He does not ask you to work harder, pray more, strive more diligently towards some distant spiritual goal. He asks for one thing only. Someone once asked a spiritual teacher what he needed to reach enlightenment. The teacher simply replied, awareness. The student followed with more questions. Awareness of what? How do I practice it? What does awareness teach? To each question, the teacher replied with even more enthusiastic repetition, awareness, awareness, awareness. Not effort, not achievement, not years of discipline and striving. Just see. Look clearly. Notice what is actually happening inside you, your reactions, your fears, your conditioning, without immediately identifying with it. That is the whole path. That is the whole teaching. Because here's what Mello knew, and what both A Course in Miracles and The Way of Mastery point toward in their own language. The moment you see the conditioning clearly, it begins to lose its grip. You don't have to fight it. You don't have to overcome it through effort. You simply have to see it. He says, understand your darkness and it will vanish. Understand your nightmare for what it is and it will stop. Then you will wake up to reality. Awareness does not require force. It requires honesty. It requires the willingness to look at what is actually there without running away. And now Mello says the thing that may be the most radical of all. Happiness is our natural state. Happiness is the natural state of little children to whom the kingdom belongs until they have been polluted and contaminated by the stupidity of society and culture. To acquire happiness, you don't have to do anything because happiness cannot be acquired. Does anybody know why? Because we already have it. We already have it. Not as a future reward for sufficient spiritual work, not as something waiting on the other side of enough self-improvement. Right now, in this moment, as we are, the splendor and glory are not somewhere ahead of us. They are here, waiting beneath the sleep to be noticed, waiting to be allowed, waiting to be welcomed exactly as they are. This connects directly to what Jesus said about becoming like little children to enter the kingdom, to what Meister Eckhart said about the ground of the soul being God's ground, to what Julian of Norwich said about all being well in this very moment, to what the Desert Fathers found in the silence of their cells. Every mystic we have explored in this channel has been pointing at the same thing Mello is pointing at now. Wake up, look, allow, welcome. The beauty was always there. Mello is careful to say what waking up is not. It is not a dramatic experience, not a blinding flash of light, not a sudden transformation that makes all problems disappear. It is more like a gradual noticing, a quiet seeing, a moment when you catch yourself running on automatic and choose to pause instead. He says, the greatest learning of the ages lies in accepting life exactly as it comes to us. Accepting, not fighting, not fixing, not improving. Simply receiving what is here with open hands. And in that receiving, the beauty that was always present begins to become visible. He says, if you could grasp this, you've hit upon the secret of awakening. You would be forever happy. You would never be unhappy again. Nothing but nothing would have the power to hurt you. Not because life becomes painless, but because you are no longer identified with the passing clouds. You are the sky they pass through, unchanging, present, vast. That is what the eagle always was. That is what you have always been. Thank you for spending this time with me here on Ascend and Awaken. Today's invitation is this. Choose one moment today, just one, when you notice yourself reacting automatically. A flash of irritation, a familiar worry, a habitual story about yourself or someone else. And instead of following it, just pause. Notice it. Name it quietly. There is the familiar pattern. There is the conditioning running. Don't try to change it. Don't judge yourself for having it. Just see it. That single moment of clear seeing is what Mello spent his life pointing toward. That is what waking up feels like. Share in the comments. Is there a moment in your life when you woke up to something you had been sleepwalking through? I would genuinely love to hear your story. If Ascend and Awaken supports your journey, consider subscribing for more reflections on timeless wisdom, spiritual awakening, and inner peace. Until next time, peace, love, and light to you on your spiritual journey.